Welcome, chosen ones. The title isn't just words today. It's a living, breathing reality echoing the core of your recent experience. We're talking about a phenomenon deeply understood by those of you who carry an extraordinary gift. Chosen ones, your intelligence and analytical mind have them in shock, and they can't figure out how you knew. This isn't just about intellectual deduction. It's about the visceral strike of recognition. The somatic shock that rattled your very bones as the betrayal unfurled. Remember that precise moment? That sudden, cold clench in your gut that preceded the conscious thought? It wasn't a premonition. It was your body screaming the truth your mind was still processing. A metallic taste blooming on your tongue, the air suddenly thick and unbreathable, as if an invisible fist had slammed into your diaphragm. That instant when their carefully constructed facade cracked, not slowly, but with a sharp, sickening sound only you could hear. You felt the shift, the insidious energy of deceit, before a single lie was even fully articulated. It was a profound jolt to your entire system, the kind of shock that drains the blood from your face, leaving you ghost-pale and trembling, yet utterly, terrifyingly clear-headed. You weren't just observing, you were absorbing the raw, unfiltered truth of their insidious intentions directly into your nervous system. The knot in your stomach tightened into an agonizing ball, a physical manifestation of the trust being shredded, fiber by fiber, right before your eyes. You watched their eyes, saw the flicker of calculation, the quick dart that gave away their game, even as their lips formed words meant to lull and deceive. Their elaborate charade, built on flimsy promises and whispered falsehoods, collapsed in on itself the moment your internal alarm blared, and they were left utterly bewildered, their carefully rehearsed script dissolving into stutters and panicked denials. The sheer audacity of their deception, how they genuinely believed they could pull it off, was almost laughable if it hadn't hurt so much. But you, the chosen one, felt it first. That sinking sensation, the deep, ancient knowing that reverberated through your ancestors' wisdom, confirming what your rapidly firing synapses were simultaneously piecing together. Before we delve further into the depth of this revelation, I need to be blunt. YouTube has aggressively restricted this channel, deliberately attempting to silence these vital truths from reaching you. The full, unfiltered message, the raw truth they don't want you to hear, is waiting for you in the sanctuary. The link is in the description. They stood there, utterly dumbfounded, their minds scrambling to comprehend how their elaborate trap had not only failed, but had been dismantled with such effortless precision. Their shock wasn't just about being caught. It was about the profound inability to grasp how you possessed such an acute sense of awareness. How could you see through their carefully constructed web of lies with such terrifying clarity? They saw your composure, the quiet strength in your gaze, and couldn't reconcile it with their expectation of your blind acceptance. That cold, internal shudder you experienced was your intuitive intelligence, your honed analytical mind, confirming the betrayal not just intellectually, but deep within your marrow. It was a brutal awakening, yes, but also an undeniable affirmation of your unique power. A power that leaves them scrambling, exposed, and utterly unable to comprehend the vastness of your perception. The moment the final piece clicked, the analytical mind pieced together the impossible. It wasn't a gentle whisper of doubt, but a thunderclap of undeniable, devastating truth. Everything you had carefully built, every memory cherished, every future imagined, imploded in an instant. This wasn't just a breakup. It was the catastrophic realization that the very foundation of your connection was a meticulously crafted lie, a shimmering mirage on the horizon of your unsuspecting heart. And with that clarity comes a unique, profound form of grief that few understand. You stand before the empty chair, not because a loved one has tragically departed, but because you suddenly realize it was never truly occupied by the person you believed it to be. It was a projection, a carefully constructed character in the drama of your own authentic emotions. The chair is empty because the essence, the genuine spirit you connected with, was a phantom, an elaborate performance designed to ensnare your discerning gaze. This isn't the sorrow of absence, but the devastating void of never having been truly present in a shared reality at all. The pain is not merely for what you lost, but for what you thought you had, for the future you meticulously built in your mind, brick by painstaking brick, only to watch it dissolve into dust. You grieve for the stolen years, the squandered trust, the vulnerable parts of yourself you offered to a carefully manufactured facade. This is the shattering of an entire reality, the violent collision of your astute perception with the crushing weight of a thoroughly woven deception. The gut-wrenching ache comes from mourning a relationship that was, in essence, a profound act of self-betrayal, not by you, but against you. Your intelligence, the very instrument that brought this brutal truth to light, now grapples with the emotional devastation it has wrought. There's a particular kind of brutal irony in having the clarity to see through the grand illusion, only to be left reeling from the void it leaves behind. You find yourself grieving not just a person, but a dream, a possibility, an authentic connection that existed only in your deepest desires and their cunning manipulation. How do you mourn something that never truly lived? How do you explain this unique desolation to those who have only experienced conventional loss? The isolation of this specific sorrow is immense. Others might offer platitudes about moving on, but they don't grasp the existential shock of discovering that a significant chapter of your life was built on quicksand, disguised as solid ground. You feel the sting of foolishness, a bitter taste, even as your rational mind confirms your strength in finally seeing the truth. This isn't just heartbreak, it's the trauma of having your reality systematically undermined, your empathy weaponized, your trust shattered beyond conventional repair. Yet this crucible of grief, this barren landscape of revelation, is where your true resilience is forged. Acknowledging the death of a phantom connection is the first defiant step towards reclaiming your inner world. This isn't the end of your story, it's the raw, visceral birth of a truer, unshakable self. You endure this unique mourning not as a victim of circumstance, but as a warrior who has seen through the smoke and mirrors and now stands ready to rebuild, stronger and more discerning than ever before. This deep ache, this emptiness, becomes the silent testament to the depth of your capacity to love and the ferocious power of your mind to eventually dismantle every lie. The world often whispers a dangerous lie, one wrapped in the guise of virtue: forgive quickly, let it go, move on for your own peace. It's a message that preys on your innate desire for harmony, your profound empathy, but your intelligence, your deeply analytical mind, cuts through this deceptive narrative. You understand that true peace is not born from premature absolution, but from a fierce, unwavering commitment to self-preservation. You instinctively grasp the immense peril in offering forgiveness before boundaries have been meticulously erected and respected. To forgive before a line has been drawn, before accountability has been demanded, is not an act of grace. It's a profound act of self-betrayal. It's an open invitation for cycles of disrespect, manipulation, and harm to repeat, each iteration eroding a piece of your spirit. When you extend premature absolution, you inadvertently signal to those who have wronged you that their actions bear no true consequence. You tell them, without speaking a word, that your pain is negotiable, that your worth is secondary to their comfort, and that their dysfunctional patterns are acceptable. This isn't healing, it's merely bandaging a gaping wound without ever cleaning it, inviting deeper infection. It's allowing your precious energy, your very essence, to be siphoned away without any form of reciprocal respect or reparation. Your discernment knows that boundaries are not acts of punishment, but declarations of self-love. They are the sacred ground upon which your integrity stands. They are the invisible walls that protect your inner sanctum from intrusion, from energetic vampirism, from further damage. Before you can even consider the complex, nuanced act of true forgiveness, you must first establish the non-negotiable terms of engagement. You must clearly define what is acceptable and what is utterly intolerable. This isn't about holding grudges, it's about holding yourself sacred. It's about creating a safe, impermeable space where healing can genuinely begin, where you can reclaim your power, where the violation cannot easily recur. This is where your analytical mind truly shines, recognizing the strategic sequence necessary for your spiritual warfare. Boundaries are your shield, your defensive perimeter in a world that often seeks to exploit your vulnerabilities. Only once these perimeters are firmly in place, only when the other party has demonstrated genuine understanding of their transgression, and a commitment to respecting your established limits. Can the arduous journey toward true absolution even begin? And even then, it is a journey you undertake for your liberation, not for their ease. They are left in shock, precisely because they cannot comprehend your unwavering commitment to these boundaries, your refusal to fall back into the old, harmful patterns they've become accustomed to. They expected easy access, another free pass, and instead, they face an impenetrable wall of your self-respect. This steadfastness, this refusal to buckle under pressure to just let it go, is exhausting, especially when dealing with persistent energetic attacks or draining relationships. If you find yourself grappling with an unexplainable, profound physical fatigue, as if your very life force is being depleted, understand that this is often a spiritual symptom. Your incredible intelligence, your sensitivity, makes you a target, and the constant upholding of these vital boundaries can take a physical toll. For those experiencing this relentless drain, the Spiritual Warfare Handbook is designed to equip you with the tools to identify these attacks and reclaim your strength. You'll find the link in the description below, a vital resource for anyone feeling this particular burden. Remember, your refusal to prematurely forgive isn't a lack of compassion. It is a profound act of wisdom. It's a recognition that your energy is sacred, your space is hallowed, and your healing is paramount. Your intelligence, your capacity to see through false narratives, empowers you to prioritize your well-being above superficial reconciliation, leaving them bewildered by your unshakable strength and your uncanny ability to navigate their subtle manipulations. There's a fundamental truth you recognized early on, even if it was a subconscious whisper in the chaos. Some individuals entered your life not as cornerstones, but as scaffolding. Think about it. When a magnificent building is under construction, its true beauty is obscured by a web of temporary metal and planks. This intricate, often noisy framework serves a purpose. It provides access, holds materials, allows workers to reach high places. But it is never, ever meant to be part of the finished edifice. You, with your inherent intelligence and unparalleled analytical capacity, instinctively grasped this distinction. You understood that certain relationships, certain people, were merely temporary constructs in the blueprint of your magnificent becoming. They were there to facilitate a phase, to offer a transient perch, perhaps even to bear a fleeting burden. But their nature was provisional. They were never intended to be integrated into the permanent, unyielding foundation of who you are destined to be. The shock on their faces, the confusion in their eyes, stems from their inability to comprehend this architectural truth. They saw themselves as indispensable load-bearing walls, as essential pillars supporting your very existence. They believed their presence was foundational, permanent, non-negotiable. They operated under the delusion that their manipulative guidance, their critical commentary, their constant need for your energy were all vital components of your structure. They never saw themselves as the ugly, necessary, eventually discarded framework. Your knowing was not a guess. It was an intuitive structural analysis. You sensed the hollow core beneath their polished exterior. You detected the unstable joints in their arguments. You felt the temporary nature of their support, knowing deep down it wasn't designed for eternity. This wasn't cynicism, it was clarity. It was the sophisticated diagnostic tool of your mind, discerning the difference between a genuine support beam and a flimsy, leased-out prop. When you began to dismantle the scaffolding, piece by agonizing piece, they reeled. They protested the removal, perhaps even trying to cling to the structure as it came down, convinced that its collapse meant your own. They couldn't fathom that its removal was, in fact, the precise moment your true form began to emerge, unburdened and unveiled. They saw the dismantling as destruction, while you understood it as revelation. They interpreted your detachment as coldness, while you experienced it as liberation. They mistook your willingness to use their temporary support for a genuine need for their permanence. They conflated your adaptability with dependency. This is where their inability to comprehend your depth truly manifests. They cannot grasp that your strength was always internal, that the scaffolding was simply a means to an end, a temporary staging area for your grand construction project. Your silence when they questioned your choices, your calm resolve as you cut ties, spoke volumes. They were too deafened by their own ego to hear. Grittiness of this journey lies in the dust and debris left behind as the scaffolding crumbles. It's a messy process, often painful, sometimes lonely. But empathy here means acknowledging that even temporary structures served a purpose in their moment. Perhaps they taught you what you didn't want. Perhaps they forced you to find strength you didn't know you possessed. Or perhaps they simply provided a platform from which to survey your true potential. The empathy isn't for their toxicity, but for the inherent human struggle of recognizing and removing what no longer serves the higher self. Your analytical mind knew their expiration date. Your intelligence saw through their veneer of importance. You understood that a building is strongest when it stands on its own, its foundations deep and true, its own beauty shining forth, no longer obscured by the temporary. The shock isn't just that you knew, it's that you had the courage and foresight to act on that knowledge, to strip away the superficial and unveil the authentic. This transformation is your masterpiece, and they are left watching from the ground, bewildered by the edifice they never truly understood. There is a profound biblical precedent for the power of your discerning mind, for the quiet strength that leaves others bewildered when they discover the depth of your knowing. Consider King David, at a low point of his reign, fleeing Jerusalem from his own son Absalom. Kingdom fractured, future uncertain, yet his intelligence and analytical foresight remained razor-sharp. As he ascended the Mount of Olives, an old man named Shimei emerged, cursing David with bitter accusations, throwing stones and dust, publicly shaming the anointed king. David's men, enraged by this blatant disrespect, begged permission to silence Shimei, to take his head and end the tirade. But David, the shepherd who became king, understood something deeper. He saw beyond the immediate insult, beyond the primal urge for retribution. He refused. Let him alone and let him curse. David commanded his loyal followers, for the Lord has told him to curse David. This was not weakness or resignation. This was strategic intelligence, a move so subtle, so counterintuitive, it created a trap Shimei would never escape. David's silence in the face of such aggressive provocation was a calculated act. It served multiple purposes, all stemming from his profound understanding of human nature and the spiritual battlefield. Firstly, it demonstrated unparalleled emotional discipline. While Shimei frothed with rage, David remained composed, absorbing blows not as personal affronts, but as data points in a larger, unfolding narrative. He refused to be baited into a reactive spiral, thus denying Shimei the satisfaction of truly rattling him. Secondly, his refusal to retaliate immediately maintained the moral high ground. Had David allowed his men to kill Shimei, it would have been vengeance, confirming the accusations Shimei shouted. Instead, by enduring the curses, David showed humility, patience, and a trust in divine justice that transcended the temporal. This quiet strength baffled his enemies, solidifying loyalty among true allies who witnessed a king more concerned with principle than pride. Most powerfully, David's silence was a devastating trap. Shimei, emboldened by lack of immediate reprisal, continued his insolence, unknowingly digging his own grave with every stone thrown, every curse uttered. David wasn't forgetting, he was observing. He allowed Shimei to reveal his animosity and disloyalty, painting a clear picture for all to see. The immediate inaction was not absolution, but a deferral, an unwritten decree that justice, when it came, would be undeniable and complete. Years later, under Solomon's reign, Shimei faced the consequences of his audacious disrespect, precisely because David chose not to react impulsively. His analytical mind saw the long game, the full arc of consequences. This is the power you possess, chosen one. When your keen intellect and uncanny foresight leave them stunned, when they scramble to understand how you knew, when they attempt to corner or provoke you, your silence becomes your most potent weapon. It is not an admission of guilt or a sign of fear. It is the sophisticated maneuver of a mind operating on another plane. Your controlled non-response forces them to show their hand. It compels them to fill the void with their assumptions, often revealing their biases, desperation, and lack of understanding. They assume your quiet means weakness, but in reality, you observe, collect data, allowing them to expose their true motives and limited perspectives. Your silence is the quiet click of a perfectly set snare, waiting for the unwary to step in. It is the grit of a diamond, forged under pressure, refusing to yield to lesser forces. Hold that space, let them wonder, let them stumble, for in their confusion they reveal their own fate, precisely as you foresaw. The 1-hour deep dive of this exact topic is in the sanctuary. Join below.